my name is Amy. It's been a little bit of time since I've made a video, and the last video I made garnered almost around 10,000 views on YouTube. Because that video did so well, I thought I would come back and give you an update on my life and what it's been like in the last 2 years of my Ketu Mahadasha. I really wanted to make a video because there's just so many things that happened. And so I thought, now that I have finished my Ketu Mahadasha, yay, I finished it on July 2024, so just under a year since I finished it, and now I'm in my Venus Mahadasha, so I thought it was a perfect time to reflect on the Ketu Mahadasha. So if you are currently going through it or you have it coming up, I thought that this would be a nice video to help you feel a little bit more encouraged, a little bit less gloomy about what you might be going through, because Ketu doesn't always take everything away without giving you something in return. So with that said, let's get into this video. So Ketu Mahadasha is actually described as a time for spiritual growth, for detachment, going inwards, and 100% I experienced every single one of those things. Fortunately, my career kept getting better and better and better, but it was mostly on the external side that I noticed that, as challenges came up, I got better at my job and I got a better title or a better, pay. I was getting paid more and more every year. And lots of responsibility came with it, and I was constantly stressed out, and all of that stress was like living inside my body, so I was having health problems as well. And so I changed jobs a lot, basically, during my Ketu Mahadasha. I would say that over time, the first initial part of the Ketu Mahadasha gave me a lot of challenges, a lot of emotional and material issues that essentially started the journey for me for the next 7 years. And then the middle part of Ketu Mahadasha was very solitary. I had a lot of time to myself. I was still working, but I was having challenges with kind of detachment, not really seeing the purpose for why everything was taken away in my personal life, and just kind of losing a sense of identity and just what is the point to everything. It was very hard. I had a major breakup during that time, and it was just the most I would say like being lost and not having a way forward kind of time in my life. One thing that I noticed that was really interesting that changed by the last phase of my Ketu Mahadasha is my desire to work for someone else. So I'll tell you a bit about my Mercury Mahadasha. Ever since I was a kid, so I was born in Saturn Mahadasha, and even at the age of 10 or 11 I had started taking little jobs here and there to try to make money. And I worked in my Saturn Mahadasha and then into my Mercury Mahadasha, and started getting really good jobs closer to like the end of my Mercury Mahadasha, because I had gone through schooling and through like university during that phase. And I worked throughout my Mercury Mahadasha, but I used to change jobs at that time a lot as well, because I think Mercury's influence was very strong on me. I am a Virgo ascendant, and on top of that, I think my Mercury is very curious. It's very, it's looking for new experiences, and it wants to get good at things, like lots of different things. So I used to take up a lot of different jobs in my career, but in a different industry every time. So I got a lot of skills during that time, but I never really settled down anywhere. And when I started my Ketu Mahadasha, even though Ketu was taking me up, like I was getting all these amazing jobs, I was getting great titles, great pay, great responsibility, I just felt like it didn't satisfy me. Like internally, it did not do anything for me. So my Mercury Mahadasha gave me a lot of skill. My Ketu Mahadasha gave me a lot of, you know, uh, upward mobility in my career. But at the end of it, I realized I don't really enjoy working for other people. It's not satisfying to me. And I really love being kind of to myself, or just having one or two people that I'm really close with being the core people I interact with every day. So, the pattern of working for others was starting to transform in my life. I think during the last phase of my Ketu Mahadasha, I could not imagine working another day in like a 9 to 5 job. And I was blessed with an amazing idea that came to me at the end of my Ketu Mahadasha, that I then decided to go ahead and start my own business. So I work in the tech industry, and I had an idea for a tech product, and so I'm currently in the last 6 months been working on that product. Now, let me tell you another part of the Ketu Mahadasha which was incredible. In the center of my Ketu Mahadasha, I went really solitary, and I had kind of detached from everybody, and I also wanted to, try to find a bit of peace, mental peace in my life. And so I actually, for the first time, discovered, spirituality. And the beautiful thing about that was that my mom was also going for like spiritual classes, so she had brought home a lot of books. In fact, there's a bunch of them like in my cabinet over there. But she brought home a lot of books, and one of those books was like Tattva Bodha, and a lot of other spiritual books. So I started to read all these books that were like already in my house, and I started to also find a liking for mantras. And so I started to, for the first time in my life, sit in front of a mandir and start to sing, mantras, which was really not typical for me at all during my Mercury Mahadasha and my Saturn Mahadasha. And during that phase, what I realized was that I really feel calm for the first time in Ketu Mahadasha. I feel, at ease. I feel like I'm connecting to a greater power. And the best of all, I realized I love singing. And through that process of that devotional practice, I discovered my love for singing. And I also was inspired to make music. So I, bought myself some ukuleles. You can see one that's like right here. I don't know if I can get to it yet, right there. And I started to play music for the first time in my life, and I started to sing. So almost at the last phase of my Ketu Mahadasha, I created my own music. And I was so fortunate that I actually ran into somebody who ended up becoming my collaborator, and we made music together. So I released 3 songs, and with my first song itself, I ended up getting a licensee deal with a record label in New Orleans, USA. And that was incredible because I never sang in my life. I never played music. I never knew anybody like in the music industry. And suddenly I am, meeting all these amazing artists. I am going for concerts. I am, connecting with a few people who are way out of my league. I had people working on my music who were from the industry and really well known. So I cannot believe that that was the last phase of my Ketu Mahadasha. And what that taught me, or when I reflect back on it, what I realized is that Ketu took everything away from me, and it caused a lot of suffering, which could only be soothed and healed with music. And then when it brought music into my life, it just exploded into this amazing experience. So I guess all I can say is that Ketu at the end of the day, like after 7 long, difficult years, gave me a gift of a love for music, brought amazing, interesting people into my life who are also musically inclined, who are exceptional. I do not deserve that at all. So I definitely think that these are merits of my previous life. I've never in my life, in this life, done anything to deserve such amazing opportunities to meet great musicians or work alongside them, and I had that opportunity. The last thing that I would say about my Ketu Mahadasha is that I learned a lot about astrology, and I was just telling someone the other day that, you know, I actually learned a lot about life just by watching astrology videos, by reading a lot of books in astrology or spiritual books. I even started to take better care of my health, understanding how detrimental stress is on the body, and how my old ways of, I think, working myself to the bone and not taking care of my health really like caught up to me during my Ketu Mahadasha. In my Venus Mahadasha, I actually started to pay more attention to Ayurveda and trying to go as natural as possible when it comes to my foods and how I take care of myself. You know, that's the most important part. I think at the end of the day is that when you come into your Venus Mahadasha, you're ready to enjoy life again. And you know, it doesn't mean that I restrict myself, but I definitely want an amazing 20 years of Venus where I'm able to really enjoy everything. And so I take a lot more interest in how I can prolong my, you know, natural beauty or my natural health. You know, all the things that work well in my body, I want to keep those for a long time. So in the early phases of Venus Mahadasha, I'm already noticing those changes, and I'm enjoying the social things a lot more, going out more, and you know, working very hard on my business, taking care of my finances, and those are basically the biggest changes I've noticed so far. But granted, it has only been, you know, 8 to 9 months, so let's see how it continues to move forward. So now, what's next? During my Ketu Mahadasha, I learned a lot about astrology, I learned about Ayurveda, I learned about music, I learned about taking care of myself. So I think the videos that I will be making going forward are all going to be in these themes. But more recently, I've noticed that I really enjoy reading charts. I love to, you know, look at a chart and analyze it and think about all the reasons why certain people exhibit certain experiences based on their chart. So I think for my next few videos, I may continue talking about Venus, but I'm also going to slowly start to show some interesting charts and talk about them. So if you think that is a good idea, you know, write in the comments below what your experience with astrology is, how long you've been looking into it, and which charts you think I should explore. And also tell me how far along you are in your Ketu Mahadasha, whether you've never had it, if you are just about to start it, or you are similarly going with me into my Venus Mahadasha. So that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. And since I'm starting back up my videos, if you like this video, then please let me know. That way I can make sure that I continue making them. So I'll see you in my next video. Bye.